same, right? Both are same. Primary key and composite primary key both are same. But there is a difference between these two. If it is primary key, only one field is able to identify each records, right? Only one field is able to identify every record. But if it is composite primary key, two or more fields, at least two fields, right? Two or more fields should be able to identify the records, right? So apart from that major difference, both keys do the same thing, right? Both keys, both primary key and composite primary key are able to identify the records, right? So everything is explained, right? Okay. So now start this one, foreign key, right? So you can read out, or you can read and take the concept first, but definitely I have to explain that, right? So according to this description, look here, if a primary key of a table is not set as a primary key in another table, then it is called a foreign key. I repeat it. If a primary key of a table is not set as primary key in another table, then it is called foreign key. So look here, if it is foreign key, definitely two tables are connected or two tables are related. But if it is primary key or if it is composite primary key, you can pick them in a single table. See, I can show you one table and ask you to identify the primary key. That is of course correct. I can show one table to you as I have shown you now, right? I can show one table to you and ask you to find the primary key. This is correct because a single table has or can have primary key. Even I can show you one table and ask you to find out composite primary key. Composite primary key can be found in single table. That is correct. But if it is foreign key, I cannot show you one table, right, and ask you to find the foreign key, because foreign key should be related to two tables, right? Definitely you need to have two tables, okay, right? So according to my description, a field as a primary key in one table, but it is not set as primary key in another table, then it is called foreign key in the second table, right? Okay, so let's understand this definition with the help of an example, then only you can understand, right? So look here, look at this table, right? There are two tables displayed. The first table is student table and the second table is payment table, right? We have two tables, right? So now before I explain the foreign key, I need to find out the primary keys, right? Primary keys of both table. Okay. So let's take them. Dayani I. Find out or tell me the primary key of student table. Dayani I. Dayani I. Absent, right? Ovia Lakshmi M. Ovia Lakshmi M. Aksha R. Aksha R. Look, if you are absent, right, please absent permanently, right? So don't come one class and go and come in again and again. If you are absent, I mean, just disconnect and be absent as permanent. Madhumida K. Madhumida K. Madhumida K. Gajani K. My question is, what is the primary key of the first table, student table? Gajani K.
Admission number. Admission number.
Who is it?
Kajani.
Kajani, okay. Right. So in the first table, student, look at the student table, admission number is the primary key, because see, I must tell you one thing. In a table, right, you have to study the data, you have to understand the data, and then only you can say whether admission number is the primary key or not. You cannot say admission number as primary key in all the tables. In some tables, admission number can be the primary key. Even in another table, sometimes it doesn't have the eligibility, because you have to check the data, or even you have to check the other fields. Look here, this table has only admission number, student names, and date of birth. So definitely, I can tell you that the admission number never be repeated, because look here, 1001 is given for summon. And look at the other data, that is summon date of birth. So we can confirm, or we can confidently say that 1001 never be repeated. If you think that the 1001 is repeated, sometimes if you have confusion, look here, 1001. If you repeat 1001, definitely you have to repeat the name, which means summon. So if you repeat summon, here also you have to write the date of birth of summon, which means 15/3/1995, same. So, you know, you are repeating the same record, right? This is not good. So we can say that the admission number is the primary key. In a table, admission numbers can be, primary keys can be underlined, right? So when a field is underlined, it means that is the primary key. So, okay. So student, in a student table, admission number, which means ADNO is the primary key. Okay. So let's go to the payment table, right? Payment table. Logidan S. What is the primary key of payment table? Logidan S. Logidan S. Absent, right? Jadukumaran M.
Sir, 001.
Who is it? Jadukumaran, right?
Yeah.
My question is, what is the primary key of payment table? You can't say the data, right? You have to mention the field name. What is the primary key of payment table? This table, payment table. In student table, admission number is the primary key, right? In student table, ADNO is the primary key because it has unique data. The other two fields do not have any unique data. That's why ADNO is the primary key. Now my question is, what is the primary key of payment table? This is another table. So what is the primary key?
Receipt number.
Receipt number. Can't you select, okay, can we select admission number, this one as primary key in the receipt, in the payment table? Can we select this one as primary key in the payment table?
No.
Why? What's the reason?
It is a foreign key.
No. What is the reason? So forget about the foreign key concept, right? So my question is it possible to set this ADNO as primary key in payment table? Sometimes there may be, actually a table should have one primary key, but sometimes there may be more than two fields, or one field can be eligible. So can we select ADNO as primary key? Okay, I asked one more, another one. Madhushayini M. Madhushayini M. Madhushayini M absent, right? Gobisha S. Gobisha S.
Yes.
Oh, listen to my question again. Can we select this ADN node, right? This admission number as primary key.
No.
Why? What's the reason?
Because primary key has unique character.
Oh, so it doesn't have unique data, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Look here. Listen to me. Let me explain. So in the first table, yes, admission number is a primary key. In the payment table, you cannot select this admission number as primary key because look here, 1001 is repeated, right? So you can't say that the admission number which is in payment table is the primary key. But in the student table, that is primary key because that has unique data. But here in payment table, this ADNO cannot be the primary key because it doesn't have unique data, which means it has duplication. 1001 is repeated. So what could be the primary key here? It is receipt number. Because, you know, so try to understand the real world scenario. Here, take a look at your school. Your data are saved in this table, student table, right? This has your data, your name, your admission number, your date of birth. The payments that you make or the payments that you made are saved in payment table. So this table is constructed to keep your payment data, right? Okay, so here, whenever you make a payment, listen to me carefully, whenever you make a payment, you know, there is a receipt issued, right? So assume this 1001, which means who is 1001? Summon, right? So that summon made a payment for 500 and got a receipt with 001 number. Okay, someone made a payment for 500 and obtained a receipt with 001 receipt number. So now understand that 001, this 001 never be repeated. You can't say that there is another 001 because a receipt number given for one receipt cannot be printed for another receipt. If they print one receipt number for two receipt or more than one receipt, definitely there is a complex, there is a confusion. So when 001 is printed for this receipt, that number never be printed for any other receipt issued by that particular school, right? So now I can confirm that the receipt number is the primary key. Have you understood? So admission number in student table is the primary key. Receipt number in payment table is the primary key, right? Now go back and understand take that definition for foreign key again. What did I mention about foreign key? A field which is set as primary key in one table, but not set as primary key in another table, then it is called foreign key. I repeat my definition again. A field which has been set as primary key in one table, but not set as primary key in another table, then it is called foreign key in that particular second table. Okay, right. So if you understood my explanation, if you understood my last dialogue, now you can easily find out the foreign key, right? So let me find that with the help of you, right? I'm not going to find out this. Sharuja S. Sharuja S. What is the foreign key, right? What is the foreign key of this table? You have two tables on the screen. Tell me a foreign key. Sharuja is absent, right? Abhinaya B. Abhinaya B. Absent?
Amount?
Abhinaya B.
Yes, sir.
What is the foreign key?
Amount?
I take the definition again. A field which is set as primary key in one table, but not set as primary key in another table, then it is called foreign key. So now I told you to identify one foreign key. What is it? Is it amount? Can anyone identify the foreign key? Give me the answer.
Admission number.
Admission number.
Admission number.
Admission number.
Admission number.
Oh, okay. Wait a minute. Wait a second. Right, look. Most of you have said that it is admission number, but before we discuss about before we discuss whether your answer is correct or wrong, so let me ask one more question, right? So now you are given two tables, right? So on the screen you have two tables. For example, now my question is, listen to me very carefully, right? So now you have two tables. My question is, write down a primary key from these tables. Write a primary key. What is your answer? Write a primary key. Write a primary key from these tables. So what could be your answer? Anyone give me one answer? You have two tables. Assume these two tables are given in an exam, right? There is a question, right? Write down a primary key from this table. So what could be your answer?
Admission number, student table.
Yes, very good. So here you can't say admission number. If you write admission number means ADNO, right? If you write ADNO, right? If you write ADNO alone, your answer is wrong. Why? What's the reason? What is the reason? Anyone give me, justify. If someone
Because
writes
in
ADNO, it is correct. It is wrong. Why? What's the reason?
Because in payment table, that is not
Yes.
primary.
That ADNO, right? Listen, that ADNO is found in both tables. So definitely, if you have been asked to write the primary key, write the primary key along with the table name. Even if it is receipt number, right? Look at the payment table. In payment table, you have receipt number as primary key, only receipt number. That receipt number is not found in the student table, right? Receipt number is only found in payment table, that is not found in student table. So even though that is found only in payment table, you can't write receipt number alone. So you have to write receipt number in payment table. Or in short, you can write receipt number dash payment table. So it is important. Students often make mistakes, such mistakes in exam. So whenever you are asked to write a primary key, write it with the table name, right? That is important, right? Now, take my question. I asked you to find out the foreign key, right? So what is the answer now? Can anyone correct that? You all said admission number, but now you definitely realize that that is wrong, because that is found, your answer ADNO is found in both tables. So can you correct your answer? What is the right answer? Foreign key.
Admission number on payment table.
Yes, very good. Admission number ADNO in payment table, right? So I'm talking about this one. ADNO in payment table. This is called foreign key, right? This is not foreign key. This one is primary key, right? So if you just mention only ADNO, there is always a confusion, because we don't understand whether it belongs to a student table or it belongs to payment table. So even if you ask to write the foreign key, write it with the table name, right? So here ADNO from payment table. Have you understood? Right. So it is too easy. Now, okay, now take the definition for foreign key again. Now things would be very simple. Even if you are unable to understand, right? Some of you may have similar problem, right? If you are unable to understand, try to ask here, according to my definition, right? A primary key which is in one table but not set as primary key in another table, then it is foreign key. So look here, in student table, this admission number is a primary key, right? In student table, ADNO is the primary key. But in payment table, right, in payment table, that ADNO is not primary key, because what is the primary key there? That is receipt number. So ADNO is primary key in student table, but that is not primary key in another table. So here in the second table, it is called foreign key. Because in the second table, there is another field is eligible for primary key. So receipt number is the primary key there. So if you listen to the definition, you could easily understand. Try comparing the definition with an example like this. So if you do so, you can understand, right? So I repeat my definition again. Foreign key is a field which is set as primary key in one table, but not set as primary key in another table. Okay, that is the foreign key. Okay, before I explain the reason for having foreign key, let me show one more example. Anyone has doubt? Anyone needs to clarify anything? If you have doubt, ask me. So now you should understand how the foreign key is identified, or how to identify the foreign key. You should realize this. I know that you can identify the primary key, you can identify the composite primary key. And now you should identify the foreign key. If you have any doubt, ask me. I will give some practice, questions, or I will show some practice questions later. But at this moment, at least you should understand half stage, maybe 50% of this concept. That is more than enough for me now. Okay, so without, if you don't have any question, without further discussion, I can show you one more example, right? So look here. Then we will come back and discuss more. Right, look here. Sorry. Right, so here, assume this table is, these two tables are maintained by a school, right? The first table has students' data. The second table has the students' house, right? You know, you participate in sports meet, right? So in a sports meet, there are students who belong to different houses. So house-related things are given in the second table. In the first table, students' details are given. In the second table, house details are there, right? Okay. So again, I have question, right? Please don't take much time for answering, right? So Mary Priska. What is the primary key of student table? Mary Priska. Absent, right?
Student number.
Student STNO, right?
Yes,
Is
sir.
it STNO? Is it STNO in student table?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's check whether it is correct or wrong. Before that, I take another one. Right, can anyone tell me, right? Can I have house ID in student table as primary key? She said that
No.
STNO is primary
No.
key, right? So can we have house ID in student table as primary key?
No, sir.
No, sir.
What's the reason?
Because if
Because
any person if any person named 3D in student number, that person can be belong to the house 3 or 4 if 4 houses are there.
Right. Okay. Look. So definitely. Okay. Before I give the answer, come back to the house table. Okay. Let's discuss. Right. So tell me, what is the primary key of this house table? Anyone?
House ID.
Yes. Very good.
House ID and
Right.
house.
So yes, in the house table, house ID is the primary key, because you know this house number never be repeated, because for Thompson H1 is given, right? For Creedy H2 is given. For Carter H3 is given. For Sabah H4 is given. So you know this H4 never be given for another house. There may be some other houses, we don't know, right? There may be some other houses. I have given 4 houses, maybe there may be 5 houses too, right? But we can confirm that these numbers never be repeated. So definitely house ID is the primary key. Okay, go back and take the student table. In STNO, this 1001 never be repeated, because this summon definitely, right? This summon definitely belongs to one house, only H1. H1, look at the house Thompson. Summon belongs to Thompson house. You know, in school, a student never belong to 2 houses, more than 1 houses. That is not practical, right? A student belongs to 1 house. So here, this summon, right, 1001 belongs to H1. You cannot write 1001 again. If you write 1001 again, you have to write summon again, right? You have to write the same date of birth, 15/3/1995. Here also you don't have any option. You have to write H1. This is useless. You are repeating the same record, right? So now I confirm that these digits never be repeated, right? So student number is the primary key. But look here, this house ID cannot be the primary key. Why? Imagine in a school, there are thousands of students. I have shown only 4 students to you. This is important. If a table is shown to you, try to understand that table has only sample records. Here I have only 4 records which are sample. Who knows? There may be thousands of records follow, right? So here, fortunately, right? Fortunately, all these house IDs are unique. H1, H2, H3, H4. So now, when someone looks this house ID, he or she may think that it is unique, because look at them, H1 is not repeated, H2 is not repeated, H3 not repeated, H4 not repeated. So you may think that the house ID has unique data, so it is eligible for being a primary key. No, what I'm trying to say is there may be so many students, even the next student, assume there is a student whose number is 1006, right? His name is Sam or something, Sam. He has a date of birth and he can be H1. He belongs to H1, which means Thompson. He also belongs to the same house. So now look here, house ID repeated. So don't come to the conclusion by looking at the sample data only. This is why I told you to use your knowledge, think practical, study the data, right? That's why I'm using the word study the data, right? There are data inside. With the help of your knowledge, check whether they are repeated or not, because only few data are given in the table. There may be thousands of records to be followed, right? So definitely house ID is not the primary key there, because it has duplication data. In this table it doesn't, but it is possible to have duplication, right? Because there may be many records added, right? Added later. Now it has only 4 records. Okay, so this is not the primary key. Okay, right. So can anyone tell me the foreign key now?
House ID of the student table.
House ID of the household.
House ID of the
Student table.
yes, house ID of the student table. So now STNO in student table, right? That is the primary key. House ID in house table, that is also primary key. So now listen to the definition again for foreign key. a field which is set as primary key in one table but not set as primary key in another table, then it is primary key. So here, house ID is the primary key of house table. STNO is the primary key in the student table. The same house ID is in the student table, but that is not the primary key, right? So that should be the foreign key. Have you got the concept? So definitely here the foreign key is house ID in student table. You can't say house ID in house table because house ID which is in house table, that is primary key, right? So definitely this is the foreign key. Okay, right. Foreign key is not completed yet, but I'm showing some example to make you to identify the foreign keys, right? You have the ability to identify. So that's in order to improve your skill to identify the foreign key. I'm giving some example, but don't forget that foreign key is not completed. We have to understand the reason for having foreign key, right? Okay. Before that, take a look at this example. Right, you have three tables: book table, publisher table, book publisher table. So can anyone tell me the primary key of book table?
Book ID.
Book ID.
Book ID.
All
Book
agree?
ID.
Is it book ID?
Yes, sir.
Yes, it is book ID because look here, this table has book details. Book ID there, book name there, quantity there, unit price there. So if a number is given for one book, that never be given for another book. See, this is a book, Exploring Moon. For that book, B001 is given. That B001 never be given for another book, like your admission number. If an admission number is given to you, that admission number never be given to another student. If two students have the same admission number, you know, there is always a confusion, right? So now I can confirm that this book ID doesn't have any duplication value, right? Definitely book ID is the primary key. Okay, right. Right, have a look at this publisher table, right? Publisher table. All these three tables are in a same database, right? You know, database is collection of tables. All these three tables are found in a single database. Again, my question is same. Tell me the primary key of publisher table.
Publisher ID.
Publisher ID.
ID.
What about public phone number? Phone. Is it, can you select this one as primary key? Can you select PUBL phone as primary key in publisher table?
No,
Why? What's the reason?
it's not unique.
Why?
It's not unique, sir.
Can two people have the same phone number? Can two people have same phone number? Is it possible?
No,
So then how can you say that it is not unique? Okay, look.
No.
Anybody has the answer? Can you select phone number, public phone number as primary key? Yes or no? Tell me. Is it possible?
No.
Give me your opinion because this has to be discussed. That's why I'm asking you.
No, sir.
Any reasons, any justification?
Sir, if
One person
that
can have
publisher
two public
doesn't
phone.
have a phone number,
Okay, right. You got the point. Look, so if someone asks me whether public phone number can be selected as primary key, I would say yes, right? I must say yes. It can be, it should be, because public phone number is unique, right? So because you know phone number never be repeated. Look at the three fields: publisher ID, publisher name, publisher phone number. So you don't have any other fields in the table. So now I can confirm that, look here, this number never be repeated. This number never be repeated. So every phone number which is in this field never be repeated. So I can say that phone number is the primary key, right? It can be the primary key. But you also should understand that a table may have more than 2 fields or more than 1 fields which have unique data. I repeat my statement. A table may have more than 1 field which are unique. So according to this table, publisher ID is a unique field because it has unique data. Even public phone also is a unique field. But note, even though you have 2 fields or more than 2 fields which have unique data, you have to select only one primary key. If it is composite key, then you have to composite. But here you cannot composite because you have unique data. We go to composite key when no fields have unique data. But here you cannot go to the composite key because you have single field with unique data. So now you have to choose. You have a selection there. You have publish ID and you have public phone number. So it is up to you to decide whether the primary key is. You can select your wish, but here the best choice would be publish ID. You have to select publish ID as primary key because yes, the last student got that idea. The one whom I asked last, right? You got the idea. You know, this publish ID must have data. Assume that there are 100 publishers. Every publisher has a ID, right? Every publisher was given an ID. But assume there are 100 records. But there may be 1 or 2 publisher who may not have phone number. That is, of course, practical, right? Somebody may not have phone number. But publish ID issued by us. Okay, best example. Take a look at you. Assume there is a student table. You have admission number as a field and you have phone number as another field. So you know every one of you was given by an admission number by a school, right? So admission number should be there. You all have the admission number because admission number is issued by the school. But how can we say that every student has a phone number? You know, there are students who don't have phone number. So in this case, if you select phone number as the primary key, definitely there is a confusion because we already discussed that primary key cannot have empty data. So if a student doesn't have phone number, definitely that field is blank, right? That field is a blank. So assume the next person doesn't have phone number. So definitely he has a number like P005 or P006. A name is there, but since he doesn't have the phone number, we keep it as blank. This is not good, right? A primary key must have data. It cannot have null value. So it may be the reason why we choose publish ID. But otherwise, public phone can be, right? There is always a debate on this matter, but best option, as I said earlier, best option would be publish ID. Have you understood? Right. So now every one of you must look at this one, right? Book publisher table. Can you select, can you give me a primary key there quick, right? Time is running out. Can you give
Book
me
ID.
Book ID.
Book ID.
Book ID.
What about publish ID?
Foreign.
Foreign key.
Can you select this one as primary key?
No.
Publish ID primary key. Can we select that?
No.
No. Why?
No.
Why? What's the reason?
Because because a writer can write so many books.
Okay, that means, so here we have duplication, right? A publisher can publish more than one book. So look here, P002 repeated, right? So since P002 repeated, publish ID doesn't have unique data, right? Publish ID doesn't have unique data. So publish ID is not the primary key, right? But you just mentioned that book ID is the primary key. You may be right, you may be wrong as well, right? So I can say that you are right as well as you are wrong. Why I'm saying so? So book ID, we can argue that book ID cannot be the primary key. Why? Anybody? Book ID cannot be the primary key.
He's doing quotes from internet.
Book ID cannot be the primary key. So, okay, I agree with your answer, but at the same time, I can argue that book ID cannot be the primary key. Why? What's the reason?
Book ID
Anyone?
and publisher table is the primary key.
Anybody? Please don't, send the messages, right? I don't have enough time to read your messages. Try speaking. Right, look here. So that's why I already told you to understand the data which are in the table. Just study the table. You know, this is not the author, this is publisher. See, assume that I'm the writer of the book, which means I'm the author. So I have written a book, but unfortunately I don't have enough financial strength for publishing the book. I have to print multiple copies, thousands of copies. So I don't have the strength for, publishing the book, printing many copies. So I can go to the publishers, so they can publish the book for me. They have to invest and print that. Later I have to pay that. So these are publishers, right? So see these, they are publishers, right? Williamson, Bertram publishers, they are publishers. Now look here, P002 repeated twice, right? It repeated. Why? P002, which means Bertram publishers, published two books, right? Bertram publishers, B002, this one, P002. They published two books. What are the books published? B002, which means B002. Look here, Wonders of World. And B003, Art of Magic. These two books were published by P002, which means Bertram Publishers, right? Okay. Now, we can say that a single book, right? One book can be published by two people, two publishers. You know, one book can be written by two people, right? A same book, one book, but this can be written by two people. Two authors may be for one book. Similarly, for one book, for example, for B001, right? Which means B001, Exploring Moon. Assume for Exploring Moon, there are two publishers. The first publisher is P003, which means Siena and Siena. And there may be another publisher. So if it is another publisher, I have to write the book number again, right? B001. Assume it is, the publisher is United Books. So I have to write P004. Have you understood my argument? If one book is published by two people, definitely the book ID is repeated. B0. But fortunately, in these four I quote, this is not repeated. But use your knowledge and try to think that it is possible for repeating. But for grade 10, right, for students who learned grade 10, these are actually not, needed. But I tell you, because this is important. If you can understand, this is better, right? So your answer is of course correct, right? Book ID can be, but there is always a problem like that, right? That book ID can be repeated because one book can be published by two people. Okay, right. So here it is very hard to find the primary key. right? Even I can say there is no primary key in the book publisher table. So quickly, right? Quickly, tell me the, so primary key is not found in book publisher table. So how to identify every record there? So since primary key is not there, what could be the solution? In book publisher table, primary key is not there, but you have to identify every record there. So what is the solution? Have you understood?
Composite primary key.
What is it?
Composite primary key.
Yes, composite primary key. In book publisher table, you have to find the composite primary key. What is the composite primary key there?
Book ID plus publish ID.
Yes, book ID plus publish ID, right? So if you take book ID plus publish ID, so assume this never be repeated. So look at my first data, book ID plus publish ID. So my first data is B001 plus P003, right? Do you think that the same data repeated again? B001, P003? Never, right? So we can say that it never be repeated. So here it is good to see or good to take the composite primary key, not the primary key, because it is possible for repeating. Okay, so we identified the primary key in all the table. In book table, book ID. In publisher table, publish ID. In book publisher table, there is no primary key. There is a composite primary key, book ID plus publish ID, right? But we have to identify the foreign key here. But identifying the foreign key is something which is different than the other two examples. In other two examples, we easily identified the foreign key. But here, there may be little issue, right? So since I took more time, your time, so I have to wind up quickly. So please participate on the class, I mean during the classes. You must be in the class. If you think that these are not important, you have the full freedom to leave the classes completely. Even I can remove from your groups, right? But if you want to continue, definitely you have to participate in every class, then only it is useful. So I already told you, nowadays classes are not recorded, never be uploaded in the YouTube, right? So try, listen, and you can take the short notes. Even I can send you the tutorials later, but better to take this short notes while I'm teaching. Okay, so enough for today. We can continue in the next class, which means Wednesday, right? So thank you.